Hello, my name is Emma, and I've come to do a brief story time summary of Your Boyfriend Day 2. I will be adding up to 2 minutes of clips. I have been told by Fuboo this is allowed. So yeah, let's get on with it. So in the last episode, we went to the park. We were complaining a bit that our life's kind of sucky. We met Jack on a park bench. He invited us to dinner. We had dinner at our little cafe where we work. We got to know each other a bit, and then we went home and went to sleep, I think. Day 1 is on the channel, so if you do want to check that out, you can. So we are now waking up in our very messy room. Our body wants to wake up, but we don't really want to. We didn't really rest. We rush to get ready and go into the living room, where we bump into Lucy. We are startled by Lucy and her big nipples. She asks us why we're so jumpy. And she's not irritated we called her by a name, even though we'll call her whatever we bloody well like, since she's a deadbeat living off us. We're late for work, so we're trying to bolt out, so she asks us if we don't want a coffee. We have a lot of issues with Lucy, but we like the fact that she makes us coffee every morning. So that's what we are basically, her husband. And the fact that she makes coffee is the whole reason we bloody keep her, it seems. We tell her thanks, but we say thanks but no and run out. We're quite upset of how we started the day, but we're happy we might be seeing Jack later. We arrive at work. It's usually not busy on Sundays. We rush into the kitchen and we notice that someone has clocked in for us. TK comes forward and asks us where we've been. They've covered our shift for 45 minutes and they're not very impressed. We have sort of a sibling relationship with TK. We try and downplay the issue, and we talk quite condescendingly towards TK. We say it's usually dead on a Sunday, so what's the big deal? But then they tell us to look outside, and it is bustling. We're quite rude about our clientele, and then we get to work. Our work day is quite rough indeed, and we continue to complain about our clientele. It starts to die down. We stagger back into the kitchen and try and rest. TK approaches us, not impressed. They tell us that we've missed a table. We ask if they can do it, but they've already covered an hour for us, so we act her. We go out and it is Jack! And he has a very cute origami swan. I'm going to kiss his cheek today, I feel a bit flirtatious. He says, "Hey cutie." He's caught off guard, but he does beam. He asks if we have no shame from kissing on a first date, teasingly. We ask him why we should be ashamed when he's the one who asked us out. And he's asking if we're trying to seduce him in order to get a big tip. He's checking us out! Checking us out! He's snaking his hand around our waist and pulling us closer to him, considering how tame he was just yesterday. We seem to like it. His eyes go from hungry to casual, and he tells us we can go anywhere. Darling. We tell him we're going to tell TK that we're going to go for his lunch break. Jack is turning us on a little bit. We go to TK and they ask who Jack is. And we say that Jack is our boyfriend. TK seems a bit disappointed. TK wants to take us to lunch as well. We know they've got a thing for us, but we've been a bit of a tease. But I'm going to deny TK because I don't want to get them murdered. We're told to come back in an hour. We have a bit of banter with TK. Jack is waiting for us, staring quite blankly. We ask him if he's alright, and he seems to snap out of it. He says he's burnt out from a very late night. He doesn't work as a security guard. His night hobby isn't what he can pay the bills with. Wink wink, nod nod. He tests and reviews products as a living. We ask him if he's a YouTuber. He says he tests out all kinds of things. We think that sounds like a fun job, better than working here. We tell Jack that we can't be gone for long. We need to come back in an hour. But Jack is being quite naughty, and he thinks it won't hurt to be a few minutes late. We guess so, even though that's quite rude to TK. We get back to our flat, and we tell him we don't just let anyone in on a second date. And he says, of course not, you're clearly a person with class. We have a bit more banter. We think he's too cute to turn down from dates. And he gets quite a cheeky look on his face. He puts his hand on our lower back and caresses it. He's being quite flirtatious. The landlord intrudes. He looks like Logan from the X-Men. We try to compose ourselves. And our landlord is being quite nosy, saying shouldn't we be at work, which is none of his bloody business. Landlord is cranky. He's talking to us like a child, and we are acting like a child by stuttering that it's only a small lunch break, and it's only for an hour, which is also none of his business. Landlord is unimpressed and looks at Jack. He asks who Jack is. Jack says he's our boyfriend, unwaveringly and irritably. Landlord is being quite condescending towards Jack, saying, boyfriend, yeah, sure. Jack continues to glare at the landlord, but the landlord doesn't give a shit because he's massive. The landlord asks if we know why he's here. Money probably, since he's a landlord, but no, he just wants to whine about Lucy. And he continues to whine about Lucy for a millennia. We keep defending Lucy, but we don't know why. We feel like a child being scolded because he's just going on and on about Lucy. He is still whining about Lucy. We tell him we're going to look for a new roommate. The landlord is happy and says he's going to start terminating her contract. He looks at us with mild concern and continues to whine to us about Lucy. Jack pipes up and says he wants to be our roommate, but it's too soon. Jack's now sizing himself up against the landlord in a silent game of male dominance. Jack asks if we mind him moving in. The landlord is not impressed but asks Jack to go and sign papers. We call him Sir, which is quite rude. He's not impressed and says that his name is Don Williams. But he asks us to call him Mr. Williams. He says he needs to get his head examined, which he probably does, because all he does is talk about Lucy. We are now left alone. Jack is giving us quite the cheeky face. We are now showcasing our house to Jack. Here we are! He's scanning our apartment, and he looks quite pleased. He thinks it's bigger than his apartment. He gives us a cute little blush and says he's sorry for putting us on the spot. We says it'll make things easier, so we don't really care, and that he's got a decent job. He grabs her hand and whispers, cross my heart and hopes to die. He cups our cheeks in his hands, caressing the skin, and gives a rather sweet kiss to our forehead. Our heart is pounding. He whispers into our ears with a serpent-like tone. God, I could eat you up right now. He backs us up against the kitchen counter and licks our neck with his very long tongue. His other hand goes to our waist. He trails his hands down our hips and grinds his hips into ours. Lucy walks in and is quite shocked, even though she obviously does the Rudy Doody quite often. Jack's irritated and not very impressed. We're quite embarrassed. We tell her we're getting lunch, and Lucy uses quite the rude euphemism for eating out. She goes, grabs her pot and stuffs it between her boobies. And she tells us that the landlord wants to speak to her. She asks if we might want to do the Rudy Doody with her. I can't see why we would, since she is living off us. I am going to decline, thank you very much. We tell her we're going to be dead tired. And she says she's jealous that we can get tired from the Rudy Doody dance with Jack. She pinches our cheeks, which we find quite strange since she doesn't normally want to touch us with a barge pole. She leans up against Jack. this sentence. And tells him that Emma needs some good rough and tumble, but not a bruised body afterwards. She says that she has some lubricants under her bed, but I don't really want to touch something that she's used for that kind of thing. Thank you very much. We tell her to leave. We are now alone with Jack again. We are both embarrassed and quite flustered. Jack has quite the cute blush again. We tell him we're going to go see what leftovers are in the fridge. And he agrees with us, with a devious glint. He says he can't send us back on an empty stomach. Now we are back at work. We had a rough day, and now we've finished work. TK approaches us, wearing their casual clothes, and asks us if we've clocked out. We say we're ready to go home and die, but TK doesn't want us to die, because we've got to work more. We have a laugh together. It's very pleasant. I do like TK. TK's going to their car. TK's going to their car, and they look towards us. They ask us if we can talk, and we say yes. They hesitate and then say that Jack is a bit creepy because he was staring at us the whole time we were talking. We tell TK they are just being paranoid, and they shift uncomfortably, playing with their keys. They tell us to be careful walking home and that they'll see us tomorrow. We start to understand their concern, because we just went on a 5-minute date with Jack and he was ready to romp us raw in the kitchen. We think we're moving a bit too fast. We are now at home and it is dark. We see that Lucy isn't home yet, but we're not surprised. We have come to our room and we have left the lights off. Our window is open. We have now turned the lights on. We don't know who keeps opening the window. Our lights go out and we ask if useless Lucy has forgotten to pay the bill again. We walk into the living room and it's very dark. We're looking for candles. Fucking hell. Something has just jumped in my face. Thank you very much for the heart failure. We ask what we've bumped into. We think it might be Lucy. They stay quiet, so it's obviously no one good. We ask if it's the landlord. We're starting to panic! They jump in my fucking face! They wrap our arms around us and we feel wet cloth on our mouth and nose. We are fucked. We try and break free, but we can't loosen their grip. We're panicking, we're feeling weak and drowsy. We don't know who's doing this and why. We feel a kiss against our cheek, and a seductive voice whispers in our ear. I'll see you tomorrow, darling. It's Jack's voice! So yeah, that's a brief summary of what happened with day 2. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll add in up to 2 minutes of clips from my original playthrough, which again, Fuboo has allowed. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, before I forget, don't forget to check out the Patreon. I've linked it in the description. It's just £1 to play this game and it helps support them. So yeah, take care of yourself. Bye bye. This is us house now, Jack, since you're moving in. Yeah, you like it? Well, here we are. This is our new house, apparently. We have plants that are massive everywhere. We have a huge TV. We have a refrigerator in our living room. Do you like it? This is scary now. This is a bit scary. Bit too soon, Jack. I extend my arms out as if showcasing the layout of the place. Walking in, he scans the apartment, looking rather pleased with what will likely be his new living space. Not bad. Not too bad at all. A little bigger than my apartment, so this is an upgrade for me. He looks back towards me and clears his throat. Hey, sorry for putting you on the spot like this. I didn't mean to butt into your conversation and deem myself as your new roommate. It's fine, certainly makes things easier for me. And that you have a decent job. Does he though? Just don't do that too often, okay? He said it doesn't pay for a good review from me, so why does that mean he's got a decent job? And yes, Don't do that too often, okay? Do not show initiative in front of me. Not allowed. Banned from showing initiative. How very dare you. Cross my heart. With a smile on his lips, he walks over to me, taking my hands onto his. And hope to die. I don't know if it's the way he says those lines, or maybe the look in his eyes, but I can't help but gaze back as he steps closer, his body nearly up against mine. He cups his hand against my cheek and gently caresses my skin as he leans forward, placing a gentle kiss on my brow. Well, that's rather sweet. My heart is pounding as he tenderly cherishes me in such a manner, letting out a small hum with this as his lips trail down to my other cheek. With a serpent-like tone, he whispers in my ear, God, I could eat you alive right now. I've moved in with the Hannibal Lecter! Someone save me! It's a good job we've got a fridge in the bloody living room.